A quiet gesture turned explosive. Before the team sheet even hit the board at the Bernabeu, Xabi Alonso took Vinicius Jr. to one side and told him he would begin on the bench. It was a short, private conversation, the kind of management detail that would normally stay inside the dressing room, but tonight it became the story. To some, it was a thoughtful act of rotation, a coach planning minutes across a long season. To others, it looked like the first real crack in the relationship between a club and its most incandescent attacking talent. The context makes the decision unavoidable. This was Real Madrid's Champions League opener, a match with weight in the group and in the mood of a squad that has already been learning to fit Kylian Mbappe into a side built around different stars. On the night, Mbappe converted 2 penalties and Real scraped past Olympique de Marseille 2-1. But the headlines were dominated not only by the scoreline, but by the image of Vinicius as a substitute and the private talk that preceded it. What Alonso is said to have given Vinicius was an explanation. This is rotation, a deliberate plan to spread minutes among the wingers so the team arrives fresh and fit for the season's decisive stages. For a manager, that reasoning is textbook. For a player who has become synonymous with starting nights at the Bernabeu, the optics are harder to swallow. Reports from those close to the Brazilian suggest he appreciated the courtesy of being told in person, a sign of respect, but appreciation and frustration can coexist. A man used to hearing his name announced as part of the first 11 suddenly faced a different script, and the theatre of that moment, in front of millions of fans and endless pundit speculation, amplified its meaning. The match itself unfolded with sharp edges. Madrid, at times ragged, needed late heroics to tilt the balance. Mbappe, often a silent conveyor of goals, stepped up at the spot twice, turning pressure into points and sealing the narrow victory. That result masked the emotional currents under the surface. Vinicius would later enter the game, earning attention and doing what stars do, influencing events on the pitch. But the benching had already registered as a signal, a note taken by teammates, opponents and the flood of social commentaries. What a manager intends in the quiet of a corridor can be read in dozens of different ways when the lights are switched on. The club's internal balance is delicate. Real Madrid are not just any team. They are a culture accustomed to handling big egos and big moments, and Xabi Alonso is a coach trying to impose his rhythm in a squad that arrived with expectations. Using rotation early can be defended. The calendar is cruel, injuries accumulate, and preserving legs for November and February is a rational strategy. Yet stars are shaped as much by emotion as by minutes. The relationship between a coach and his marquee players depends on trust, clarity, and a mutual understanding of role. When a player like Vinicius is benched, even with a reasonable explanation, the public reaction will test that relationship in ways a private chat can't fully contain. So where does this leave Real Madrid? For now, the scoreboard buys a measure of calm. 3 points, progression, Mbappe doing what Mbappe does. But the season is not decided on a single night. The real story to watch is how Alonso manages the next conversations. Will rotation become a pattern that players accept, or will it harden into perceived distance? Will Vinicius respond with renewed hunger and public acceptance, or will quieter frustration surface in moments that matter even more? Football has always been a sport of margins and narratives, and tonight's benching is the sort of narrative that could grow into a turning point, or shrink back into a managerial footnote, depending on performances, interviews, and the next lineups that follow. In the end, the drama is simple and human, a coach balancing a squad, a star assessing his place, and a club watching how both handle pressure. The Bernabeu will not forget the image of that private conversation, and every decision that follows will be read through its prism. For viewers, for fans split between loyalty and impatience, and for the players themselves, the next choices will say more than tonight's explanations ever could. The season is long, but sometimes a single benching can echo across months. This one might be the echo that defines how Alonso's authority and Vinicius's influence coexist.